guys, this is Rosa Kelly. Today I'm here to talk about all the books that I want to read for this month. So let's take a look. So hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I know it's already the 8th of the month today when I'm recording this video, and I'm hoping to get this video out really soon, but I still wanted to share with you the list of books that I want to read. This month, as you know, is the month of Black History Month. It's also the month of love with Valentine's Day, and that is basically what I based on my picks for this month. And then I also have some other books that I am carrying on from last month that are probably just going to be ongoing throughout this month as well. So let's take a look. I'm actually feeling pretty confident to get these books done because I already finished 4 of the books on this list. So the first book that I want to read this month is Emma by Jane Austen. It is one of my goals to read more classics this year, and I wanted to start with the Jane Austen novels because I watched several of the movies and I love them all, and then especially because this is like a romantic comedy classic, and I think it will be perfect for this month. I recently checked out the audiobook that I had on hold for a long time. So I also started reading Persuasion by Jane Austen last month, and I think I'm about halfway through the book, so that is another one that I'm going to continue this month as well, and I'm excited. I have the whole collection, so I'm gonna try to read one each month and see if I can get through all of the Jane Austen novels in this year. I know I definitely love the movies so much, and following a theme of Jane Austen romantic books, I found this book at Barnes & Noble last time I was there. It's called Jane in Love. This book is by Rachel Givney, and I thought this would be a beautiful book, the perfect book to read on Valentine's Day weekend. And so on this book, we are following Jane Austen. She has apparently traveled in time to the present day and fall in love. And so I'm intrigued to see what the book is really like it's about, because that's all I know so far going in. I think it's gonna be super fun. It is quite long. It's about 430 pages or so. But I'm excited to get to this. I could not find the audiobook, so this is definitely one that I'm just going to sit, read, and enjoy. For Valentine's Day. How sad is that? Following with the Jane Austen theme, I know this is going to be quite a lot, but I have a historical fiction book that I've been wanting to read for a long time, and I finally was able to get my hands on the audiobook. So this is the Jane Austen Society by Natalie Jenner. So on this book, we are following this group of people who find a connection through their love for the Jane Austen novels, and they decide to form a society basically to protect all of her novels and just making sure those are preserved. And I'm excited to read it. I know that people come from different places that have different backgrounds, so I'm really interested to see how what this is all about. Okay, so the next books that I have are basically more into like more Black History Month and historical fiction as well. So the first book that I have here is The Black Kids. This is by Christina Hemmings Reid, and I heard some really good reviews about this book. So this book talks about this group of kids on, I believe it's like the 90s, that obviously are going through a lot of injustice based on their skin color, and I'm always interested on historical fiction. I feel like this is more like a recent historical fiction type of book, and it probably touches a lot of issues that are still real these days. So I'm definitely really interested to get going with this book as well. And the cover is just gorgeous. Look at that. So the next book that I have is The Help by Catherine Stockett. This has to be my favorite movie ever. If you haven't watched the movie, I mean, I'm sure everybody has, but I think I've watched this movie like 10 times probably, and I finally decided to get a hold of the book. I actually found this book thrifting last year. I wanted to read it in November, but I got a little bit busy, so I am now committed to read this book this year. So on this book, we're following a group of nannies that work for these white families in the South, And we also have one of the daughters that are watched by the nannies. She's basically a writer, and she wants to make a book about all of the lives of the nannies, how they're treated, the injustice, and everything that is happening back on the times of segregation. So it is an amazing movie, and again, I am now super excited to read the book. I always feel like books have a lot more detail than movies. I know this book is probably gonna make me cry, but I literally can't wait. And I do also have the audiobook for this. So the next book that I want to read this month is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. This is by Maya Angelou, and I already started this book actually, and it is beautiful. It is sad. I love the writing style on the book. So on this book, we're following the story of this little girl who is really like lonely. You can see how much she loves her brother. So on the story, she kind of is going through different stages of her childhood, and she remembers feeling really loved by her stepfather, not knowing that she was being abused. And it's really sad to read. Only halfway through the book, but it has already created such impact in me. And yeah, so I'll definitely be finishing this really soon, and I'll talk more about it on my wrap up. So the next book that I have is a book in Spanish. This book is called Negra, Esclava y Religiosa by Zelmira Aguilar. And so basically means black, slave, and religious in English. And so I actually met the author on this book when I was in Peru on a book fair, and she was kind enough to sign the book for me, and she was the sweetest lady. So on this book, we're following different historical accounts of Afro-Peruvian enslaved women, particularly on the religious life and how they were treated, how they were so courageous, and how they changed history. I'm really interested to see the historical researches on this book. There's a lot of pictures. There are some scanned documents from the time. The next book that I have here is Unbound by Tarana Burke. As you know, she is the one who started the whole Me Too movement, and this was such a powerful read. On the book, you go through her life story, how she was abused since she was really little, and how she finally found her voice and the courage to speak about it. And she explains how even to this day, there is a lot of abuse that goes untold because girls know that basically the parents won't support what they say or won't believe, or nothing will be done. So there's no point on speaking up when you know nothing's gonna be done about it. And so again, it's such a powerful read. I think it's something very like necessary, and it is so compelling the way she explains the things that happened to her. So the next book that I have on my list is The Paper Palace. This is by Miranda Coley Heller, and I actually already finished this book, and I absolutely loved it. This book made me smile. This book made me cry. It was just everything. So on this book, we're following the story of this lady named Elle. She goes back to her grandma's house as she goes every summer. This time she went with her family, but she used to go to this house since she was a little girl. So she has these beautiful memories of like family together. Although this place is full of beautiful memories, there's also this dark secret that she has, that she is keeping, that you get to discover throughout the book. And it was just really sad, really heartwarming. And again, this book made me laugh, this book made me cry, and I loved it. So the next book that I have on my list is The Perfect Song by Lauren North. So this is more like a thriller, and so I actually already started this book long time ago, and I never actually sat down and finished this book. So that is something that I'm going to do. I am committed and to finish this book this month. And so on this book, we're following Tess, and her husband recently passed away on a plane crash as he was going on a business trip. And it has been a couple months, and now her son has gone missing, and apparently she cannot remember anything that had happened from the time her husband had that tragic accident until the time that her son has disappeared. So she's trying to remember day by day how the day went and how the son disappeared. It's such a slow burn. Like I said, I'm halfway through the book and I feel like I'm so connected to her. Like every time I grab this book, I know exactly where I left off, even though it's been like a long time. So I'm committed to finally get it finished because I need to find out what happened to the son and at what point he disappeared. There's a couple suspects of who could have taken the son, so you're kind of leaning back and forth to who might have done it, which I'm really enjoying. Till this point, I still don't know who could have taken the son. We have the friend who she had also had like lost her son, but there's also the brother who really is looking for money. He wants the money from the life insurance. He's constantly threatening her and playing with her emotions. I'm really enjoying this book. So like I said, committed to finally finish it. So the next book that I have here is Malice by Heather Walter. This is a book that I borrow also from the library that I need to get a move on or return it altogether. I did start this book and I was about 20% done, but I wasn't really getting into the book. So for me, it was kind of like a slow read. I don't know if I probably had too many things in my mind, but I am going to give this book a second chance and I'm going to try to read it. I finally have the audiobook for this, so I think that's also going to be really helpful. I love audiobooks because not only, it is a faster way to read a book, but also there's a lot of like voice play, and so you understand the characters a little bit more. So hopefully I'll get it done this month as well. So the next two books are books that I have ongoing, so I probably won't finish with these ones this month, but I'm also gonna just mention them really quick. So here we have A Little Life. This is by Hania Yanagihara. It talks about four college friends who decide to basically become family because they all come with some sort of history on their own families, and you're particularly following Jude, and he has probably the saddest life story. The book has a lot of trigger warnings on it, so make sure you review those before you decide to read this book. It is taking me a little bit of time. Yeah, so this is one that I'm going to continue this month. And the next one, it is a dark academia book, and this is Night House by Lee Verdugo. I started this book and I started this on audiobook, but this is one of those books that you actually need to sit down and read. I mean, that is my opinion. This is one of those books that I actually need to physically read, and sometimes I need to go back to the pages. But yeah, so I'm loving it so far. This is a dark academia book about some disappearance and murdering that has been happening on Yale University, and yeah, so it's getting pretty good. So the last book that I have on my list is Sarah's Key, and this is a book that was actually on my list of books to read for 2021, but I never got to it, and I finally was able to read it, and I actually already finished this book on audiobook, and it was really sad. It is amazing though. I listened to this book in one day. You can't put it down. Even on the audiobook, sometimes I feel like I need to switch or take a break from the book, but this one was everything. And I realized as I was reading the story or listening to the story that I actually watched a movie about the story, so I want to go and rewatch it now that I read the book. On this book, we're following two different stories. One is Sarah, who is a little Jewish girl on the times of World War II in Paris, how they basically were captured by the Parisian police to be sent to the Germans, and so she didn't know what was happening, and her brother have this little hiding place, and when the police came, she decided to put her little brother on this hiding, it's like a little nook, I think, if I remember correctly. It's like a little hidden door, and so she put him there, and she said she'll come back to him, and she locked the door and she had the key, and later on she was taken into concentration camp. So she always carries this key with her, hoping to go back to rescue her brother. So it is really sad. Well, the second story you're following is this lady who lives in Paris and who is married to the guy who basically is going to inherit the house from his grandma, and this is the same house where Sarah and her parents used to live. And so she's also a journalist, and so she decides to do a research about what happened to this little girl and her brother and the history in the apartment, and she puts it on to herself to find where they are now. And it is a really heartwarming story. Of course, it's really sad, but yeah, so I already finished the book. I'm not gonna spoil the ending, but that is one that you definitely have to read, or at least watch the movie. So those are all the books that I have on my list to read. I know this is a short month, but I'm definitely excited. Like I said, I already finished 4 of these, and I try to keep the momentum going. I don't have audiobooks for all these books, so I'm gonna try my best to relax. Another thing that I've been wanting to do more is just to literally sit down, relax, and do nothing but reading. So I've been pretty good at that. Make sure to comment on this video. I do have a giveaway coming up, so I'm going to be selecting some winners from this video for some books that I have duplicates of, and I'm going to be giving those out to you. So let me know which books you're reading this month. Let me know if any of these books that I mentioned sound really interesting to you, and let me know if you have read any of these and which one should I go through first. And so I want to thank you so much for watching. Make sure to be subscribed to my channel, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye bye.